Hey guys, AJ here. This is gonna be my first video reacting to TCAP. So this is for all you TCAP fans out there. I've always been a huge fan of To Catch a Predator. I used to watch this show back in college, way back in like 2004, 2005, 2006 when it was first on, and I always loved this show. And I think that I really got into it probably my junior year, because we would go out, party, drink, or whatever, and the next day we would hang out all day, hungover, chilling, eating food, and we would have a marathon. It was usually on from like 12 to 6, and it was just straight TCAP all day long, and I always loved this show. And it's great that there's such a strong community for To Catch a Predator, and you have access to all the chat logs and some of the interviews with the police officers and all that. There's so much extra stuff and all this crazy awesome community of people that support this show. And also Chris Hansen's still doing his thing with his podcast, his YouTube channel. He did Hansen versus Predator. So it's just so great to be a TCAP fan. So this is going to be my first video, and this is on that David Kaye. He was that rabbi from Virginia, and this one really sticks out to me because I think this was either the first one that I saw, or I think maybe I had a criminology class or something, and it sticks out because of a lot of the techniques that Chris Hansen uses. I think in his book or in his podcast, he said he took a class, like an interrogation class, about how law enforcement people act when they're trying to interrogate people. And you can see some of the techniques that he uses in this particular one. And this one always stuck out to me because this guy is a total piece of shit, and Chris Hansen's the man. And let's just jump into it. So I also want to say that Fairfax, Virginia, I'm from the West Coast, but I live near Virginia now. I live in DC, and Fairfax is a really nice place to live. They have a lot of really nice homes and a lot of people who make a lot of money. And I looked it up, and this David Kaye guy was a rabbi in Rockville, Maryland. And Rockville's a really expensive place to live. So he's a total bonehead who ruined his life. I don't feel bad for him. Let's get into it.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning in an AOL chat room. This 54-year-old man, screen named Red BD, messages a 13-year-old boy named Conrad saying, "I'm prowling for young men." What he goes on to say, and the pictures he sends are so graphic, we had to carefully edit them before putting them on television. And as you'll hear when we read from his chat log,
imagine being the intern or whatever they had to hire to edit those pictures. Yeah, here, can you edit the dong out of this one, or like, or edit I don't know, whatever, so we can show this on MSNBC. Hilarious. Let's get back into it.
It's clear Red BD knows what he's doing is wrong.
You're only 13?
Yeah.
That's rape.
Dude, I tell you that before.
Yes, I remember.
And you gotta love the people who are reading the chats, and they get better and better with each investigation. But the guy that reads the adult chat or whatever, hey there. And imagine being a voice actor or whatever, and you go for an audition, and they're like, "Okay, now we need you to speak as much like a pedophile as possible." But I guess a job's a job. And I also like how some of the other TCAP channels, how they read the chats too. It's hilarious. So.
Oh, okay.
Just you're so young. I've never been with a young man like you, but I would like to.
Oh, geez.
While the two are chatting online, we conduct a background check and are absolutely shocked by what this man does for a living. And now he's in our kitchen after making a date for sex with a boy he thinks is 13.
And he just walks into a house. I think that's the thing that, one of the other things that amazed me the most about this show is these guys just brazenly walk into a stranger's house, I mean, talk about having a baby batter on the brain. Like, what are you doing? You could get killed, robbed. I mean, they're perverts, so I don't care. But still, and the most, I guess, as a person that's not a pervert, like I can only think rationally and not irrationally, but why would you just wander into not wander, but why would you brazenly go into someone's house like this? It's crazy.
Alright.
Hey, one more second, I gotta change my shirt, yeah?
Okay.
It's full day, I gotta ask, you still gonna be up for tonight?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Watching these guys before I have my interaction says to me they're either very comfortable taking part in this activity, or they've done it before, or they've spent so much time chatting online with someone they think is a teen.
I think that a lot of them have done it before. I mean, this was, to some, the early days of the internet. So they probably either tried it before, didn't work, or they just straight up did it before and didn't get caught. And props to prime, Chris Hansen here too. He's got he's kind of had a rough couple years as of late, but this is prime Chris Hansen. He has the voice. Look at him. He's got his hair isn't gray. He's thin in shape, virile. He's at his fighting weight. This is prime Chris Hansen right here.
That they don't believe there's any danger at all. Now, earlier in the chat, he had talked about going out to dinner with his girlfriend and then perhaps coming over to meet the boy.
Now, anyone correct me in the comments? Well, I read that this guy, he was married. He had a wife of 30 years. So who divorced him when he got convicted? So if I'm incorrect, someone correct me in the comments, please. So is he trying to say that he has a wife and then he saw his girlfriend and now he's trying to bang the little boy, or what? Like, I don't know.
After that, and just as he finishes that ha ha ha, he turns around and I walk into the room, and you see this physical reaction on his part, and he knows that his life is about to change. So how can I help you?
Chris Hansen, son. And this is the best part of the show, this moment right here. I think TCAP fans, we need to call this something. I know there's other TCAP creators out there, but if anyone knows if there's a particular name for the moment where Chris Hansen just walks out and destroys a guy's soul without even saying anything, maybe we can call it the quickening from Highlander or something. I don't know, but just this moment when Chris Hansen walks out and you just see the change in their every fiber of their being is literally what keeps me coming back to this show. I've watched every episode hundreds of times, and I think why this hits us so hard is because as human beings, we sympathize with each other. We empathize with each other. So even though this guy is an idiot and a moron and a pervert, you can see that he thinks he's going to get away with this. He pulls in, scopes the house out, walks in. When he hears that quote-unquote boy's voice, he's like, oh, man, I was nervous for nothing. I'm going to get away with this. And he's walking around this house, and he's super comfortable. And then Chris Hansen walks out. So when he's comfortable, you can kind of get in that mode and think about the comfort level that he's at, and then put yourself kind of in his shoes with that jarring effect of when Chris Hansen walks out. I love it. Get him, Chris, get him.
Go ahead, have
Look
a
at his
seat.
face. Hands in his pockets, sweating.
I suggest you sit down.
Now, this is what I mean by, let's back up just a little bit. Okay, so
I suggest you sit down.
Chris Hansen, he comes out, he asks a question, and then he starts giving directives. He puts his hands on the counter and he leans forward. And he's wearing dark colors. All this is a technique to establish dominance. And if you watch, he wants him to sit down, whereas Chris stays standing up. So this is all a technique so that Chris is in control of the situation. And think about how panicked this guy is, this David guy is. He's searching he's trying to make sense of this. So his survival instinct, he's like, fight or flight. So he's thinking about either running the hell out this door or picking up that stool, or he's thinking about doing something. But what happens is that all of his reasoning is kind of gone. So he's going to respond to basic commands. And what Chris is trying to do is really take advantage of that and order him into a weaker position. Get him, Chris.
And take your hands out of your pockets, please.
And then he said, take your hands out of your pockets. And that's what cops do. So now he thinks that Chris is a cop, which is even more confusing because Chris isn't wearing a uniform. All he sees is a suit. So is he FBI? Is he a cop? Is he... I don't know. But you're going to find out.
Why don't you tell me what your plan was?
I don't want to be. This isn't good.
Not good. That's kind of an understatement, isn't it?
Can I know who you are, please?
I want to know a little bit more about why you were here first.
I'd like to know.
See, and he usually uses his we'll get to that in a minute line. But I don't think that he does that here. And I think Chris does that because he has to tell him, well, no, he can't say that he's a cop, obviously, but then he doesn't want to say he's not a cop because then the guy will just get up and leave. So the more that the guy doesn't know, the worse off he is in the situation. So
I'd say some identification.
Now, I don't want to lie to him, but I don't want to let him know I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC just yet. Well, I'm happy to tell you who I am, but I also want to go over some of this chat log with you. It appears from this that you were setting up a meeting with a 13-year-old boy. Okay, you're only 13.
And Chris starts reading it anyways, just to watch him squirm. Oh man, I love this show. I love it.
Yep, 13. For a 13-year-old, you handle yourself pretty well. Yes, you are very cute, and when boys are that cute, they usually look like their moms. So you pretty much thought you were coming here to meet a 13-year-old boy named Conrad.
I have a transcript of the email.
Do you have anything to say for yourself? I like sucking and being sucked.
Okay, all right. So I just thought of something while Chris is talking about the actions here. One of the things that stands out about this guy is a rabbi, so he's an authority figure a lot in his life. You know, if you're like a pastor, a priest, or a rabbi, and you walk into a bar, no, but think about how often this guy is in a weaker position in his life because he's a rabbi, so he's the man in his life. Like I'm not trying to say that he's some I don't know, but people really don't challenge him much, because he is he's a rabbi. He's in charge of the synagogue. He probably runs events. He probably, he's the guy that people in his immediate circle look to for guidance. So imagine how uncomfortable this really must be for a person in his position to have no control over this.
I like to kiss. And now I'm getting ready to ask him what he does for a living. I already know, but I want to hear it from him. What do you do for a living?
A rabbi.
A rabbi.
Not for long.
Now, presumably, you counsel families and children in your position as a rabbi.
Sure.
Children.
30 years.
What are you doing as a man of God, as a rabbi, in this house, trying to meet a 13-year-old boy?
I'm really... I don't want to do anything that's going to further make you angry.
Oh, I'm not angry.
You're coming across in a very...
I don't think he's used to Chris Hansen's radio voice. He thinks Chris is angry because of his "This is Chris Hansen, News at 5" voice. So
angry and authoritative sense. I've asked you for identification as to who you are, and you've yet to show it to me. Right now, all it's...
And you notice how he's trying to talk like all low and bob his head and have his hand out because he's trying to have some control over the situation. Like, these are all small little things that he's trying to do to, like, okay, he's trying to talk to Chris Hansen like, I don't know, like he's his dad or whatever. Like, calm down, little guy, you know? But, dude, you're fucked and you know it.
What happened is that I'm sitting in a house.
And you sent pornographic pictures through the mail. Okay, that's a federal offense right there.
Yes, it is.
You know I'm in trouble, and I know I'm in trouble. I am not interested in getting any further.
And from what I read during his trial, they used this footage and used the whole, you know I'm in trouble, and I know that I'm in trouble. That line is what really got him in trouble. So I guess he did know that he's in trouble.
This is not something that I've done.
You've never done this before. You know, because
He has. That's the first time I've ever noticed that. Look at that look on his face. He doesn't even reply. He doesn't even want to try and deny it because he has. You sick sack of crap.
I hear that a lot. You see a reaction on his face. And that pretty much seals the deal. He wants to know right then and there who I am. And so I tell him.
I don't understand why I can't ask somebody those pictures.
I'm more than
Because you don't have any power. You don't have any leverage, buddy. You're in Chris Hansen's world. You're in the Thunderdome.
happy to tell you who I am. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Oh, no. Come on, guy.
Oh, dang.
You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want it. It was really one of the only time really.
Dude, look at how, man, his whole life is crashing down. He's probably like, oh, I'm stuck in this chair with this guy. I don't know if he's a cop or not. What am I going to do? Things can't get much worse. And then out comes the camera, and I think there's a dude with a big light and a boom or whatever, dude. All these years later, and it's still awesome.
Where somebody actually physically lunged at me. Now, looking back, I really don't think I was in much danger. But you can see how the security system
He'd have given you that Chris Hansen karate chop.
works. Our guy stepped in, took care of it, and diffused the situation.
You've got to stop this.
Sit down. Sit down.
You don't have any
You're
right
free to leave any time. We got phone calls from him for months.
Imagine that drive home. Man, how stressed out he must have been. He must have had the bubble guts, dude. He was just stressed out, trying to be like, oh, crap, what did I get into? Man.
And he was downright mean. He blamed us for his situation. And we offered him the chance to do an interview. He initially said yes, but only if we didn't show the video from the house, didn't show his face, or identify what he did for a living. And obviously, those were conditions we could not meet.
Because Chris Hansen is a gangster, that's why. So I guess this is good for the video part. Thanks for Charles Lee. Love Charles Lee LUV, because he actually puts for posting this video and putting a link to the chat in Perverted Justice, because their site is hard to search now and then. So I read through the chat. I really don't feel like reading it here because it's pretty gross. I mean, yeah, this guy is sick. So, and then it also talks about the phone call. So I'll actually probably start reading some of the chat stuff in future videos, but this is my first one, and no, not today. So, I believe this guy was convicted. I can't quite remember what exactly he got. Give me a second, because I actually have it right here. What this guy got. Let's see. Yeah, he said, so on the TCAP wiki, it says that Kaye was found guilty of both felonies after a 2-day bench trial in September 2006. So he got 2 felonies. the court had determined that the pictures and sexually suggestive advances that Kaye made on the child were direct attempts to persuade, induce, and entice the child to engage in sexual activity. His sentencing was set for December 1st, 2006. And of course, he said, "You know that I'm in trouble, and I know that I'm in trouble, and I wasn't here for anything good. From the footage from To Catch a Predator were used by the judge to find him guilty beyond reasonable doubt, because he actually waived his right to a jury trial and wanted a judge." Let me see. So he got 6.5 years in prison by the judge, and then he got 10 years of supervised release and was on the offender list for lifetime. So yeah, and then I guess he got out of jail in January 2012, and then he tried to actually become a rabbi again, and they rejected him, obviously, and yeah, so I guess he's still around. I mean, he got arrested for not registering as a sex offender a couple times. It just I guess the guy is just a straight moron still. So I guess I'll end this here. Thanks guys for watching this video. Thanks to everyone who's a fan of the show. I guess that it's fans like us. Why Chris Hansen's still doing his thing. I want to try and do more videos and can keep these coming for you. So please like and subscribe, and I am out of here.